nights now whisper tales of long-lost faces gone so pale. Flickering lights on corners weep, silent voices haunt the deep. Every door seems like a play, murmuring secrets to the key. Where have you gone? Where did you stray? Into the night or the light of day? Missing shadows cast away, gone without a word to say. Photos lie on dusty shelves, memories trapped like lonesome elves. Echoes of laughter fade to gray as time's cruel hands steal.
I saw I don't know what kind of a dog it was. It was a little dog. This guy was walking them, this new neighbor of ours in this little community that we're on, on the Olympic Peninsula. And I was like, may I pet them? This little dog looked just like Chewbacca. And I kind of got like a little bit of, I don't want to say PTSD. The Bigfoot that I saw, the Sasquatch that was right in front of me looked so much like Chewbacca that I was like, oh,
Barb is bound to Wookiees.
Yes, yeah, right.
That's your new show right there, Bound to Wookiees.
Oh, whoa, I love that. So, hey, to everybody that is listening in, thank you so much for joining us. This is going to be the premiere episode of my new show. I want to welcome my guests tonight, my good bud, Kenny Thibodeau, MidnightLycanthropy, also known as Lorde Starfox. He's actually the one that was, I feel like I'm the baby bird, and he needed to push me out of the nest because I'm like, he's like, no, you know what? You really need to you need to do your own show. So thanks for talking me into that, Kenny. And I want to welcome my other friend, Brian Barber. And everybody knows him from Bigfoot's Barber Shop. And our very special guest, the legend, the one and only Thom Cantrall. I love all you guys. I love Thom. We've co-hosted many shows together, haven't we, Thom?
We have. We've worked a lot together.
Yeah. And I've just gotten to know him so well. And I tell him all the time, he's a living legend. Anything you want to know about Bigfoot, he's the one.
Well, it's been 67 years I've been following him, so I should have learned something by now.
So
I've been fortunate to be one of the few people I know that have been able to do the Jane Goodall Diane Fossey routine with them.
Yes.
And that, believe me, that's where you learn about them. When you can sit down and observe them in their normal activities for a day or two or three.
And now, how did that come about, Thom? How did that all come about that you were able to do that?
I wish I knew. I just got to know them better and better. A lot more activity, and they work your mind so much that.
Yep.
And I think that's what they did. I think they saw where my mind was. There was no guile in it. No, wasn't anything in it for me type thing. It was everything to promote them. And they just got getting closer and closer. And I finally found the right one. My teacher came to me on the 25th of September, 2010. And that was the first time that's happened. And from there on, 15 books have been written since then. At his behest, not mine, at his. And, I don't know if I'm going to have time to do number 16. I have it in mind, but I don't know if I'm going to have enough time left to do it. Things are not all that great health-wise. But when you're 82 years old, you go with the flow and do what you can, right?
That's right. And you are just, I need you to hang around. We need you to hang around. But you know what? We never know, right? What life is going to bring us every day. So we just treasure.
Yeah, I had a big warning here last week, though.
Yeah,
So,
you did.
yeah.
Yeah, you scared us for sure. And I'm sure you scared yourself, but you definitely scared us.
Well, I just brought it strong to mind. Just how much I can take with me.
That's true. Can't take it with you.
None of this stuff hanging on the walls is going. I know that.
No. Thom, you know what? I know, like I've said that, we've said it, that you feel like you're going to come back as a Sasquatch. That's what you said. And
That's what it appears to be.
Yes. Yeah. Our psychic friend Holly, she had kind of confirmed that she sees that too.
You're the one that told.
Yeah, that's right. But you were like, oh yeah. So we have to think of like a sign that you can give me if you come around my house. And I think one of the guys said the other day when we did a show together, 4 knocks or something. Is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of 3.
I'll gift you, Tom, but I don't want to have to fill in another sweet and low box, okay?
Oh, yes.
Brian, can you tell anybody that doesn't know you and doesn't know the story about the sweet and low box? Can you tell us about that?
Sweet and low box.
Right.
We were, by that time we'd been out gifting peanut butter for about 2 years at that point in this research area. And it was a cold, frozen morning and we were walking around, just happened to look down at a juniper bush and there was, areas of melted snow and not melted snow. And then saw this, and I'm trying to think of the right word for YouTube, this huge log, a specimen of a log. It's like, what the heck? I thought, and took pictures and I thought maybe constipated bear. It was just too big. It was a couple feet long and about as big around as a Coke can. And a friend of mine, he's like, oh, get samples. I'm like, get samples? And he's like, no, I'm serious. And luckily I had, a plastic bag with me. This is where it gets gross because I don't have any gloves.
Oh,
so
no.
I'm digging, it's frozen to the ground. I'm digging at this thing, trying to get pieces off it. And I finally get a substantial amount. I got it in a plastic bag. I throw it in my backpack. And, we were just going to do a little more walking. And all of a sudden I'm like, what the heck is that smell? That is awful. And then it dawned on me the heat was going through my backpack and started to fall. It's in the bag. Oh, we got to go. We got to get this in the truck and get it out of here. And so I threw it in the back of my truck and we didn't even get to the end of the road. And I was like, oh, no, this is going in the way back.
Whoa.
So I threw it in the way back of the truck. I got home and I didn't have anything. I'm like, what am I going to put this in? And then I just happened to have an empty box of Sweet and Low sitting there. So I dumped a few packets out, racked it up and put it in a box and taped it shut and literally put Brian's poop on, don't touch. And I stuck it in the freezer. And I had totally forgotten about it because somebody was supposed to come get it, a few days later and it fell through. So, and then doing one of the shows, we were talking and, I'm like, oh, hey, wait a minute. I got this. And that was when my girlfriend Elaine found out. I thought I had told her, but she found out on a live show that I had.
Yes, I remember. I was like, uh-oh.
I got a Bigfoot poop next to the Christmas roast. So,
I'll tell you another story about that. Patricia in our group, in Barber, the Abbey group, we were at Lake over east side of the mountains. And found a pile, and she took it home, put it in her freezer. And about 2 weeks later, her husband bought her a new freezer and put that in to get it out of there. I'll tell you one thing about that though. Unless you get it fresh and can get the moisture that's on the outside, that's the only thing that will give you any DNA from Sasquatch. Once it dries, you're going to get the DNA from whatever's in it.
Oh.
Okay.
I just got DNA from rabbits and deer sitting in my freezer in a big all these years.
Yep.
Well, Well,
Whatever's been eaten, there it is.
but like, I mean, at this point, Brian,
Well, at this point, with everything I got going on, it might be a family heirloom for my kid.
So, okay, this is like, maybe going to be too much information, gross, but
I don't think you can be at this point, but
yeah, we know that different animals smell different. Like, I feel like chickens and dogs are like have the worst, but there's a very distinctive odor to humans, which tops it. So what do you think that this smells like?
I work in a gym, so I am literally bombarded daily with high protein bodybuilders. So, the locker rooms are always interesting. We keep several cans of Febreze in there just for that. And it was way beyond anything like that. My truck smelled the inside smelled for 2 days and the bed smelled for 7. It was horrendous. So it was like all the way home. I'm like, whoop, I got to have the window down. It's only 32 degrees out. So yeah, I don't even know how to put words to it. It smells worse than they do because you can tell when they're around, you get that kind of wet dog, hot air. It smells way worse. They smell worse on the inside than they do the out.
And see, I think that all right, what do you guys think? I'm not sure if they just smell like that. Maybe some do. Some, I think, kind of cast an odor out, because I know that I've smelled beautiful scents of flowers or, that aren't in bloom or are not, and also not even in that area.
Yeah, and that's true. They can control that body scent, the scents they let off to a degree. Some of it is just, they hadn't bathed in a while. What we smell like is we haven't bathed in a while. Well, but that's, upsides that body, and that's a lot of not bathing for a while. And, but they do put off whatever scent they want to put off if there are other individuals involved or other animals. It would help you get closer to your game if you were stalking.
Right.
But can they smell bad when they want to smell bad?
Yeah. Because that's what I smelled before. And it's very, and it's very fleeting, because it's like, if something that smells that bad, there's going to be a source, but it will just come and go too quickly.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever had the occasion to smell buzzard puke.
No.
But it's of the same vintage, okay? And it's a defense mechanism. Walk up on a group of buzzards and they'll all go, and then fly off. Because you aren't getting closer to them after that, I guarantee you.
I'm not going to try to after knowing that.
No, don't.
No, I noticed when, like, going out in the woods, you'll be walking along and smell it and then stand still and then it'll disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it'll come back and then it goes away again. And the wind, there's no wind to change or anything. So
yeah, that's just them playing with you, letting you know.
My husband and I up here on the Olympic Peninsula, and it kind of smelled like dirt, but like peat moss, dirt. Also, my husband thought it smelled like a mangy dog. And I'm like, I don't know what a mangy dog smells like, thank God. Do you think that was potentially Sasquatch?
Yeah, they do that smell a lot.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Yeah, he's grown up on a farm and a hunter, he's like he's never smelled anything that smelled like that. It wasn't, it wasn't good, but it wasn't the most unpleasant thing, but it's not like something you'd want to, stand around and want to smell all the time.
Up on the peninsula, are you on the east side or on the west side?
I'm on the ocean side.
Okay.
So I guess west. Yeah.
Yeah, the ocean's on the west.
Yes.
West through your half floats and you're there.
We are in Pacific Beach.
I've been wherever direction you turn with south.
Yeah, I bet you have. Your logging days.
No, that was in the Navy.
Oh, okay. Sorry, yeah. How long did you serve in the Navy, Thom? And thank you for your service. Wow.
9 years, submariner for 9 years.
And what do they actually drive this stuff? What is a submarine? What do they do? What were your duties as a?
Well, my job, I was a Polaris missile technician.
Oh.
I maintained operated Polaris missile system.
Wow, that is just. I am terrified. Deep water. I can't even imagine, like I
It's only like 11,000 feet where we were. We only use the top 400 or so most of the time.
my great grandfather was one of the divers in the Navy that went down in those big, suits with the leaded.
Yeah.
Nope. Get that
Hard
from
hat
him.
diver. Yeah.
You guys know we live on the Puget Sound, and you guys may have heard this story, but we were out on our boat maybe 2 years ago, and we got a new fish finder, and then it's supposed to, do a sonar of the bottom or whatever you call it. Is that what it is? Sonar of the bottom of the body of water, and it's really it's pretty deep, but we don't normally see anything, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks like a ship. And then I think it was my son was like, Mom, well, you know that they sunk some ships here to use as artificial reef.
Really bad, Barb, because heights in deep water I'm the same way. It's not the first 6 feet like Tom's talking about that bothers me. It's the other 11,590 the bottom.
Yeah, and I discovered that, like, if it's a sandy bottom, it doesn't bother me. If there's nothing on the bottom, but if there's anything on the bottom, it's like we did a show on, and you've heard of the Lady of Crescent Lake, right, Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a show on that the other night, and yeah, so it's in production. And was it Brian? Was it you that said about the shipwreck that they had found?
The ship had disappeared. They didn't find it for 50 years. With the wreck and in the engine room, there's a person who's basically frozen in time, like the lady, like when the skins turned to soap. When the divers were down there, they swore they saw the head move. This happened so many times that they actually put cameras down there solely to watch the body. And they watched the arms and head move several inches over the course of 6 months on a couple different days.
That can't even.
So they're still scratching their heads because there's no current, no water.
Yeah.
So terrifying. So, Tom, what was the first, I don't know if I've ever asked you this. What was the first, I guess, Bigfoot that you saw, heard? What, explain that, how that happened.
The first several were just eyeballing around the tree at me. Because, I would be hired on, I did a lot of contract work for companies, timber companies. If you're going to build a bridge, build a road that crosses a stream used by anadromous fish runs, that's fish that go to sea and come back to salt water, to fresh water to spawn, you have to have a permit from the state. Well, they'd hire me to do the workup for that permit. Of course, they gave the company engineers the ones along the road. They gave me the ones that were 7 miles in. So I'd have to hike in 6-7 miles and do my measurements. And I learned really quick. You do not hike back out, sit down at your desk and start drawing it up and find out you've forgotten one measurement and have to hike back in the next day.
Right.
And ruin your whole weekend for you. But, so I would get all my measurements and sit down and draw it up, just do a rough drawing of it, make sure I had all the measurements. And it was when I was doing that. I mean, here I am 6-7 miles back in old growth forest. I mean, there hasn't been anybody there for 500 years. These trees are 400 or 500 years old. And there's no game in old growth forest because there's no feet. Okay. So here I am sitting there and hear a noise, look up, there's an eyeball peeking around a tree at me. For a long time, I thought they only had one eye and it just drifted from side to side. But that happened early on. The first time that I had a sighting where I was able to sit and observe, my partner and I he worked for a timber company, he was a timber buyer, and I had my logging company. We both took a day off. I was shut down, fire shut down in September, and he took a day off, and we went grouse hunting. That's our euphemism for being in the woods when the elk are bugling. If you haven't done that, you haven't lived yet. So we found a herd. And of course, it's mating time. It's September, and started following. Ended up broke them up. But it was the herd bulls standing up on a knob, a clear cut, just screaming his head off, trying to get his cows back together again. So we decided not to push him anymore. He was not happy. Okay. Young bull walked up beside him on that knoll, and he just turned around and pushed him right off the hill.
Oh my gosh.
He was some upset. So when that happens, we just turn around and let them get back together. And of course, we were no longer in contact with one another by this time, because he'd gone that way and I went that way. But both of us were fortunate, so it wasn't like we were lost or anything. And I just started back towards the truck. And as I was coming out, I saw an area ahead of me that was free of timber. And in that country, and this is the Diggy River country up in the northwestern corner of the Olympic Peninsula. In that country, there's ground, there's trees, period. There's timber. Well, here was a better spot. And so I decided to sneak up on it because I figured it might be water. And it might be a little lake. You never know what you can find around a lake out there. So I sneaked up the big old spruce tree and sneaking behind it around. It was about a 6-acre patch of blown down timber. And so as I was looking at it, I saw 2 bears feeding off the oyster mushrooms. And if you haven't had oyster mushrooms, you're missing out too. They are delicious. Pick them right off the dead logs. Eat them all that. And so I said, wow, that's cool. And then one of them stood up to look around. That wasn't no bear.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, big male Sasquatch.
Wow.
So I figured the other one was a female, and it was. So I just sat down there out of sight. I had the wind. The wind was from them to me, so I could just sit there and watch. And I watched for about 20 minutes. And they just fed along, picking mushrooms and eating them. And then all of a sudden, I felt a gust of wind hit the back of my head. I thought it was busted, so I just stood up so they'd see who was there. Stepped out away from the tree. Instantly, he stepped back so she could go back in the timber. And when she did, she reached down, picked up the baby, put it on her chest.
Oh, wow.
And she walked back. And I said, before you go, I said, I want to thank you for sharing your family with me. And I swear to this day, and that's been 50 years, over 50 years now, but I swear he turned back and nodded his head at me for that.
That would not surprise me.
He acknowledged that I'd spoken to him.
Wow.
And then he turned and walked, followed her back to the timber. Yeah, that was about 1973, I think.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Did you know what they were?
Yeah. First time he stood up, I knew what they were. Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt. I've been studying since 1957.
Okay.
Okay, this is 15 years later. But the first, from 1957 to 1958, pardon me, to 1968, either in high school or in the Navy. So it was all whatever I could get my hands on to read. Dr. Ivan Sanderson's work, anything he wrote, I read, and including his articles that he published on the California Sasquatch in 58 when Terry Crew had his incident, and in 67 with the Patterson-Gimlin film. He investigated both of them. Then, at the time, he was about the #1 paleontologist in the world. He'd written like 13 books on paleontology and mammalia, and they were the go-to books for every university in the world on those subjects. So he knew what he was talking about. And so, yeah, that's the first time. And then that started it, because after that, I was walking into them all the time. I watched a group fishing one time, a family group, and that was cool. And that was kind of funny because what they did, there was an area where there was just one beaver dam after the next up the creek bar. And I was there at elk hunting. It was archery elk season. So I was there elk hunting. I had a really good blind, and I had a herd elk walk right in front of me, but no legal ones, no horns at all. And 2 wolves passed in front of me. told the state DNR about it. There's no wolves on the Olympic Peninsula. I said, well, you better read it. And I've been twice. I've seen wolves out there. Twice I told DNR, and twice they denied they were there.
Wow.
But, I said, if you weren't semi-permanently attached to continue your truck, you might know what goes on out here. I wasn't really pleasant with them much of the time. I was sitting watching, and they'd run the salmon up against the beaver dam at the head of the pond, and then they'd reach in and pick them out. And what they do is he'd put them under his arm and he'd squeeze them. And I watched for a while. Some of them he'd throw away, some of them he'd keep. And I watched and I couldn't figure out what he was doing. Finally, it dawned on me. If nothing came out, he threw them away. If he squeezed them and something came out, either eggs or semen, they were fresh. Otherwise, they're already spawned out. And you know what salmon do after they spawn out.
Oh, wow, that's smart. I mean, you know that they are, but whoa.
That was one of the first times I said, they're smarter than we think they are.
Yeah.
He knew what he was doing.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was on Goodman Creek on the far west side of the peninsula between the Bogoshiel and the Hoh River.
Whoa.
I've got a spot there. It's always been my private little camping spot I don't tell anybody about. But, it's one of the most gorgeous spots in the world. Right on the creek, huge hemlock and fir trees. I mean, absolutely gigantic ones. And all around, it's probably 40 acres of park there. And it's just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I go there quite often. It was clothing optional, so it was fun.
So did you have any lady Sasquatch that were like, hey?
Well, third time, so I had to do with that.
Oh my gosh, that's just incredible.
But it was fun. It was just a fun place. The Olympic Peninsula is my idea of heaven on earth anyway. I lived out there, worked out there. So,
I agree. I love it here. I just love it. It's like has very just a peaceful, but good energy. But so is, where I live, actually been more sunny out here, than it is.
Yeah, Forks rains 180 inches a year.
Oh, like yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's places that rain over 200 inches a year.
Yeah.
But one thing about it's kind of fun being up on one of those ridges working and have jets fly by below you.
Oh, yes.
They come in off the ocean under the radar. So they'll get a few feet off the deck. And then they come up one of the river valleys like Bogoshiel or the Hoh, and then come up over the top. They're right over the top of the Olympic Mountains, right over Seattle before they show up on radar.
Whoa. The night before, and I mean, we're sitting in the house, and I think my husband was doing, not in the same room, and all of a sudden you heard that this thundering, and I'm like, what was that? My husband said, I think it was sounds like a plane, but I mean, yeah, it was just shaking everything, and I ran out, but it was already gone. Darn it!
That's what they do.
Wow!
Come out those river valleys and then pop over the top of the Olympic Mountains.
That is really things that I really liked about this particular place because oh my gosh, just walk along
reservation there.
Yes, and you know what? And Thom, you're I have been getting video. I can't even get through the video that I've been getting to release it because there's so many things peeking at me. It's like, oh my god!
I go to Sasquatch.
Oh yeah.
And the window above me there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I go out there every year and I always spend some time going down. If I get a ride, to go down up the beach, I should say, north from there. It's a beautiful place, beautiful area.
Now that I have a place to stay, I'll be definitely going to that. To this. Yeah. So
John does a great job there. He does a great job. I really like that one.
So I'm going to bring you out to the house, so you just hang in there, okay? Until then
Okay. Yeah, if I'm still here in November, I will.
well, or come and knock whatever 4 times.
Yeah, great clamming out there too. Razor clams.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
They're delicious. Oh,
Yeah.
out of this world.
Wow.
Fried razor clams are just, yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to be here for some of that because I want to get Kenny in on this because he's been actually wanting to, he's like, let's do a show with Thom. Let's do a show with Thom. So, Kenny, what do you think about all this, Lord Starfox?
Well, thanks first off for letting me come hang out with y'all and just spend listening away to the great stuff and wrestling with an angry squirrel that is now in her bed sleeping. So I had to mute myself in the background because she was going ballistic. Yeah.
Little Swift was being a little stinky.
She was. But now she was all curled up in her little castle that I have made for her. So she's good. Yeah. Like I said, it's all really fascinating stuff. And yeah, thanks for hanging out with us, Thom. I did want to ask you real quick while I do get a chance. Have we ever figured out fully where Miss Autumn Williams went?
Yeah, she's at home.
Okay, good.
Yeah. She just withdrew from public life entirely.
Okay, so she's good though. This is all that matters to me.
She's very happy to hear that. I love that lady a lot.
Yes. No, that's great. Barb was suggesting that we did reach out to you about that in the beginning, which is actually how I got a chance to link up with you, man. And I just kind of wanted to say on a, last part from me here, dude, is need help with anything, man, definitely fire me up and don't ever feel like you're old. I was born in 1778, Massachusetts, so if you think you're kicking around for a bit, I've been kicking around for a few centuries.
Thom, have you ever seen what would be potentially a Dogman? Because that's, Kenny's thing.
Yeah, no. I've heard other people talk about them, even in my area, but I've never seen anything in my area that I've.
Yeah. Thom, what if I had a chance to, before we let you get rolling, tell you one real quick that was submitted to me recently from the good old Bayou down in Louisiana. Guy was super chill. Had claimed he knows Troy Landry. And as I did some more digging, there actually is a episode where Troy mentions a brief part about this gentleman. I can't fully verify if they're buddies. I can verify that aspect. Either way, 2015, guys out in the bayou fishing, sees what looks to be a large, strange looking black bear that is bipedal. It looks over at him. He makes eye contact with it, casually walks into the swamp, disappears. The gentleman sees air bubbles coming up near his boat, which he thought the way that the bubbles were coming up, it legit looked as if this thing was just walking still, meaning as if we were standing up and down in the water, how our bubbles would come up. Whereas if you were floating, like, say, an alligator or something, it's going to be a little bit different. He then verifies his thought when he sees the thing a distance away, casually walk up out of the bayou, shake off its water or whatever it didn't want on it, and then walk on 2 legs off into the forest. And he said it definitely looked more canine than per se a Sasquatch, but it also looked bearish. So there's a new one for you. Not new, but newer to myself.
They have a swamp bugger, I think swamp booger, I think they call it down there. In Louisiana. That's a little different than what we have too. Yeah, I've heard reports of that.
I actually heard something else I will share with y'all once we get a chance to link up again about the Falk monster. I always had my thoughts as to why this could have potentially been a Dogman. Well, I heard more information that the claw that went across the screen looked like a quote unquote paw slash like kind of claw. All right. Right there. That seems a lot different than like per se the hand of a Sasquatch. Also, when the two brothers went outside, this supposed bear fell on top of one of the brothers, who then was able to weasel his way out of it. But it said it smelled like a rotting carcass slash dirty dog. They then, his brother was so scared, ran into the house, basically knocked the door down. The guy's wife put the door back up. Then they realized their brother was still outside. They heard the boom of the shotgun. Then the brother comes in completely distraught. And the two inside were like, what's up with the bear? And his brother's like, that was not a bear. And it had gotten off and apparently ran off on two legs. And that's why I always kind of had my thoughts as to why down in that area it could be Dogman, because then the tracks as well look a lot like some of the tracks we have from the Shenango Valley and also from Ohio near Pennsylvania. And just that behavior. I don't know the most about Sasquatch. Yeah, sure, there's been some pounding and stuff, but the whole like legit trying to enter the house like that and yank people out and things reminds me a lot about when dogmen do get near people's places, like up in, the Martin case where these 5 werewolves tried to dig in through their house all night. Just food for thought.
Yeah, that's not typically foot behavior. Do you think, Tom, anyway?
No.
Right?
What do you think about that? Tell us a little bit about that, Tom.
No, I've never found a Sasquatch or Bigfoot to be aggressive ever, except for a mother with a child.
Which
And
understandable.
That's going to happen in any species.
Right. Yeah.
But I found them to be, the rock throwing, 99% of that is kids. I know it's more trouble in any species than adolescents. Okay? What they're doing. They're just playing with it. The one that cracks me up the most, there was a show on TV for a while. It was really good, Monster Quest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And one of their outings was to a place called Snellgrave Lake in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And Meldrum went, and the doctor from Minnesota, University of Minnesota, went, and they were doing some works. And the last night they're all sitting outside in nice weather, and pebbles, just little pebbles, started hitting the metal roof on the cabin. What did they all do? These investigators, these professors, they all ran inside and shut the door and pulled the window shades down.
Yeah. I believe the late John Bindernagel was a part of that as well. He was the man, rest in peace, the Canadian biologist that also took a ton of interest in this too. I believe he did right around the time Meldrum had as well. Bindernagel was super cool. That's also the case you're referring to where they stepped on the board of screw.
They stepped on the screw.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Gnarly.
Yeah. John was an absolutely wonderful guy. I got to stay in camp with him a couple of times.
Wow.
He stayed with us for a week one time.
Oh my God.
And we had a great time. That was up in BC at our research area there.
Wow.
Where Brian and I did and Sue did our research on cliffs.
Nice question.
Yeah. Please. I was just gonna say, Brian, do you have any questions? Because you're like, I can't wait to talk to Tom.
Well, Tom is like one of the OGs. So
Right. Yeah.
what sparked? I mean, for me, it was Patterson Gimlin on In Search of, but you're pre-Patterson Gimlin. What actually sparked you into
Jerry Crew incident?
Jerry Cruz?
That's what started me. That was written up in the newspaper on the 6th of October, I think it was, 1958. And my dad saw it in the newspaper. He read it and he threw it to me. And this is something he did quite often, just to stimulate my interest, I think, more than anything. But Dad, it was quite an individual. He only finished, I think, 10th grade. I'm not sure if he finished 10th grade. And if you gave him 10 simple math problems, he'd miss 8 of them. But handing the blueprints to a house, and he'd order the lumber for you and have one uncut stick when he got done. It's just blew me away what he could do with practical stuff. But so he saw that, and he threw that article to me, and I got done. He said, "What do you think about that?" I said, "Well, to be truthful with you, I don't know, because it seems a little far fetched." Then a couple of days later, I read an article by the doctor I told. At any rate, I read an article by him as well. If he's talking about it, it's got to be true. So I went back and went through that again, and yeah, it made more sense looking at it from his angle than mine. And that's what started me. I've been reading about from 1958 to 1968. 1968, the Navy gave me my choice of duty stations, and I chose the Polaris Missile Facility at NAD Bangor outside Bremerton. And I spent my last 2 years in the Navy there. And I was probably stayed in, but they wanted me to go back to Charleston, South Carolina again. And I said, "I know Ellicott, South Carolina. I know I've looked, not a single one anywhere around." And I had them up to my hips where I was, and, and they're a lot more fun to hunt than deer.
A lot harder to carry out too.
Yeah, I was going to say they're a lot harder to carry out.
That's
especially those Olympic Roosevelt elk. I mean,
yeah.
They make those Rocky Mountain elk look like pipsqueaks. A big Rocky Mountain elk will weigh 700 to 800 pounds. That's a huge bull elk. A regular size Olympic bull, the 6-point I got, which was a young 6-point, was 1,200 pounds.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. And he landed right in the middle of the river, 18th of January, snowing like mad. And I had to dredge him out in the river and then drag him ashore. Yeah. Don't you out of the river. Yeah. Oh, snow on the road was about 6 foot deep, 7 foot deep. And I turned around just in time to see him standing there under a gut bank, big 6 foot. Talk about good eating. Oh.
I've never had elk. Is it gamey or no?
No, gamey is dependent on how you take care of it.
Yeah.
Okay, it has no gamey flavor. Even venison has no gamey flavor if you take care of it right. Keep it clean. Wash it out. Don't get pee on it.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. It has no gamey. I've had 100 people try my deer venison and not know what it was because it had no gamey taste to it. Yeah.
That is impressive.
But I learned how to take care of them.
Yeah.
I had some without learning how to take care of them. The hard way.
Yes.
The old way.
Now, where were you raised?
I was raised in Northern California.
Okay.
I was born about 60 miles north of San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
Graduated high school in a little town called Sonoma.
Oh, gosh. Oh, beautiful area. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I liked it further north from there.
Yeah.
I got into the redwoods. That was my area. Always. But, my uncle had a ranch out in the mountains about 30 miles north and 20 miles west. And it was all timber. And, it's just great deer hunting. More rattlesnakes per acre than I've ever seen anywhere in my life. But we never bothered them unless they were around the house.
Did you see any, did you ever remember seeing anything that was suspicious when you were there?
No, not as a youngster. I was that article was what introduced them to me and made me start thinking about them. And then I found there's a lot of stuff written about them. And but even when I was at sea in the Navy, I would take books along to read. And of course, 6 to 8 weeks to submerge, you have plenty of time to read.
Yeah.
That's that and playing cards are your two main forms of recreation because you can't make any noise. We're out there to be quiet and be unseen. Launching platform for 16 missiles. So You got to stay hidden. You got to stay quiet. And we did. Yeah. It was great.
You know firsthand what people smell like when they can't shower for a while.
Oh no, we could shower every day.
Oh, that's good.
Could you?
And yeah, we had plenty of the old submarines you couldn't, but nuclear powered you could. We made up more water than we needed. Yeah.
That's good.
And
that's good.
we made our own oxygen. Made our own.
You weren't just a diesel.
No, we were nuclear power.
Wow.
Yeah. SSBN 627. Now they're what, 780s or something like that.
I don't know.
Somehow you made a transition of being in charge of nuclear missiles to chasing Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's quite a career change.
I didn't really change. I just got a chance to fly it to the ground, you know.
There you go.
And got my degree from UW, and then went to it. You know, I was supposed to be logging, but I got a degree in logging engineering. Then I got out, I found out what they paid logging engineers, and I had a little chippo logging company going with paying me more than that. You know, and so with the consulting work I do, I do pretty darn good. I can make as much on a weekend doing a consulting job as I could in a full month as an employee.
Wow.
So,
that no brainer then, right? Jeez.
Yeah.
Lots more time for camping and elk hunting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And I was seeing places that nobody's got to see. You know.
That's
First or second person in there in 400 or 500 years, you know. Got across the stream 4 miles off the road. It's just a step across stream, no name stream. And there's a sandbar in the bottom of it with a great big track right in the middle of it.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah. And what is that? Well, the signature, I was here, you know.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
He knew I was going to be crossing there.
Yeah.
And so he leaves the track right in the middle of the stream. Yeah.
Here I am, big boy. Let's see what you got.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Well, I just wanted to thank
I was going to say,
quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just
Sure.
letting me come hang out with you tonight. Brian and Barb, obviously I talk to you all the time. Barb, I'm going to see you here in a few. Barber, I'll be talking to you here in a few as well. But Thom, thanks for your time, man. And like I said, anytime I can help you out in anything, make sure to let me know. And thanks for all the great stuff tonight, my friend. I just unfortunately, well, in a good way, sorry, not unfortunately, I need to head off to another podcast real quick here too, but I just wanted to thank you for your time.
Well, you're quite welcome.
Thank
Just
you,
contact me anytime for anything you need.
Sweet.
Yeah, I want to do this again. I definitely want to do this again. With anytime you're up to it. Yeah, we'll go into some other things because you're just a wealth of information. You're a living legend. We gotta get this done from you. What are you doing right now? What are you? Because I know you have projects.
Right now, I'm working my tail off trying to get Barb Shoup's book ready for publishing. Barb and I had lunch together today and going over the last of it. So tonight I hope to have it ready to send to the final editor.
Wow.
And have it back by Sunday and have it by next week.
Amazing. It's amazing.
But that's what I've been involved with the last 2 weeks, and getting that done. But it's fun. They're neat ladies, and I love them to death. Lee has written 3 books of her own already. 2 books. She's writing her 3rd now.
Who did you say, Thom? I'm sorry, you kind of cut out.
Galvez.
Oh, yes.
So she started helping Barb getting started and taught her what to look for, how to write, type of thing.
Gotcha.
And so it's in Barb's vernacular.
Yeah.
And which is cool. and lots of cool pictures in it.
Oh, yeah.
And when I first time I introduced Lee to Barb, Lee had gotten a hold of me from my YouTube channel, I think. And he got a hold of me because of the book she's working on. And I wanted to get her in touch with Barb. And we went to lunch. And the whole lunchtime, Barb's telling stories, you know how she is. And we got her camera. And here's a big video to go with that. Here's a video to go with that. She's got everything backed up with a video or a picture.
Yep. That's great.
We got her about done now. I'm just doing next to last things, and I'm sending it to Lee, and she's got a few grammar changes she wants to make. They come send them back to me in the other prior file. I said, no, that was gone, done and gone. Throw it away. I'll try to send you a new one. As soon as I'm done with it, I'll send you this one. Yeah, get them all lined up and do it in the right order has been a chore too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that.
Because we're doing it differently than they ever had, and of course, Barb's brand new. She said today, she said, I thought I'd be totally satisfied with having written this book. She says, but I got a sequel in mind.
Exactly. And she certainly has enough material. Tell us, and I will put it in the comments, post-production. Can you tell us how people can get in contact with you?
My website is myname.com.
Okay, gotcha.
Really tough to figure. And from there, there's my email is available there, and other than that,
your amazing books and
my books are available on that site as well. And I'd like you to buy them there because that way I get to sign them.
Yeah.
If you buy them through Amazon, I can't sign those unless you bring them to me. Then I'll sign them.
Yeah.
That's part of the reward of writing a book is you get to sign them.
Yeah. Well, Brian, thank you for joining us tonight. And I want to do this again as soon as we can because there's so many things that we didn't get to touch on. And it's like an hour and, it's gone by. So,
that's amazing.
No, I am so honored to be here tonight and like I said, finally get to share airtime, the conversation with Thom instead of just being in the chat. And it's truly an honor and a privilege. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. All right. Well, you guys have a good night. Thank you again for being here. Thank you to all our viewers, and you're going to be hearing more from us. And if you want to let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd like me to cover on upcoming shows. So thank you guys, Brian and Thom. Love you guys. Have a great night.
Much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Yeah.
In the fog of the unknown city, footsteps vanish so swiftly. Empty streets now whisper tales of long-lost faces gone so pale. Flickering lights on corners weep. Silent voices haunt the deep. Every door seems like a play, murmuring secrets to the key. Where have you gone? Where did you stray? Into the night or the light of day? Missing shadows cast away, gone without a word to say. Photos lie on dusty shelves, memories trapped like lonesome elves. Echoes of laughter fade to gray as time